Hey everybody, I'm Brian. Welcome back to BellTube. This is kind of a repeat video, and I'm going to share with you why. We're going to talk about what I am reading in April and also what I'm going to read in May. And yes, I did do a previous TBR video for the spring. It got entirely upended with the untimely passing of my mom. So I thought, you know what? I need to give the community a little bit of an update here on what I'm actually reading versus what I said I was going to read, and kind of what I'm thinking about for May, because it really has changed quite a bit. Another thing is that I did a poll on the community tab, and I asked you guys, do you want me to do more edited videos or more off the cuff, unedited, if possible, zero cuts programming here? And it was a pretty overwhelming choice that for now people just prefer to see me unedited and off the cuff without any cuts to the video. So that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to talk about what I'm reading, what I'm planning to read, and of course I do have a one for the road for you today at the end, which might not matter to a lot of you, but I bet you that there's a percentage of you that are going to find some value with it. So that said, let's talk about April for a minute, because as I'm filming this, it's April 23rd, and I had already planned to be done with the Bone Hunters, which is, I want to say, book 6 in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. When my mom passed untimely, Malazan was not anything that I could really put my brain around. I can't really get my brain around day-to-day existence right now, so trying to delve into the mysteries of Malazan Book of the Fallen just really was not in the cards. For the first couple of weeks afterwards, this event happened, I didn't read anything at all. And it was kind of a bummer because I've always looked to reading as my escape, my getaway, my kind of sacred place that I can go where I can go on adventures. If I'm reading fiction, I can live the lives of other people. And really in the first half of April, it didn't occur to me that I wanted to live the life of anybody else because I was so mired in my own, and a lot of grief was kind of filled with that. So what did I do? I picked up this book, Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Now, the most recent Sanderson book that I've read was Wind and Truth, and if you like, I'll put a link up here if you haven't seen my honest review on Wind and Truth. It was very middling at best. If you want the Cliff Notes version, do they even make Cliff Notes anymore? I don't know. Back in my day, they had Cliff Notes. Anyways, it was kind of a medium book for me. But I picked this up because I know that Sanderson kind of wrote it for his wife. I know he did it during I think the pandemic, and I felt like this might be exactly what the proverbial doctor ordered for somebody that was going through unimaginable grief in the way that I have been. And I have been overwhelmingly delighted so far with Tress of the Emerald Sea. I'm not even halfway through it, right? This is all I have read in the entire month of April, and I'm at like 40 to 45% through Tress. I'm going to probably do an actually dedicated review on this book because it has been so personally meaningful to me at this just most crazy time in my life, and it certainly is the most crazy time of my life. So I think it's going to warrant its own review, but needless to say, this found its way into my hands at probably the best timing for me, and I am really enjoying it. I'll tell you why when I do a more dedicated review. Now, we're going to try to do this with no cuts today, so if I start throwing books or looking at my notes, you'll know why. All right, so, and by the way, I'm also listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl 7, The Inevitable Ruin, on audio, and it's kind of a strange thing there as well, in that Dungeon Crawler Carl is my favorite LitRPG, and I haven't really wanted to listen to it very much because I'm kind of waiting for my brain to lighten up and have a little bit more fun. So it's been pretty sporadic as far as my pace through that book went or is going. I suspect I'll probably get it done in the next week or so, but I really want to pace it out that I'm actually enjoying that book rather than just getting through it, because like I said, I just love Dungeon Crawler Carl. All right, so what would come after that? I think at the beginning of May, I'm going to pick up book 2 in Josiah Bancroft's Book of Babel. I don't know. I didn't know it last TBR. I still don't know it. This one's called Armor of the Sphinx. It's gotten really good reviews from the people that I know on BookTube. And what I've been told is that, well, Brian, you know, you like Senlin Ascend so much. There's more of the same and actually better in book 2. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Josiah Bancroft. This is how you know this is unedited. Josiah Bancroft has a really unique authorial voice. And I think the only editing I'm going to do, by the way, is maybe some background music, and I'll show a graphic of the book if I don't feel like holding all of these up, or on the one occasion here that I don't have a digital copy. But yeah, so if you are into this series, let me know in the comments. So far, so good. Let's throw that over on the couch. All right. Well, as you know, I intended to do the Wars of Light and Shadow every other month and Malazan every other month. And since I'm skipping Malazan for April, that means in May I will be back in the Wars of Light and Shadow with Ships of Merior Part 2. Now, in Europe and in other non-US countries, I suppose, that book is called The War Host of Vastmark. And in this book, they've just basically made it an omnibus edition. According to Janny Wirtz, that's how this was supposed to be in the first place, but the publisher, in their infinite wisdom or infinite, greed for extra cash, turned it into 2 books. So I'm more than halfway through this, because part 1 is longer than part 2, but this will be read relatively quickly in May, and I'm excited for it because I really, really did like the Ships of Merior. I would like to thank I know I just went out of microphone range. I'd like to thank everybody, by the way, who's part of that read-along. There are too many to mention here, but it was actually my job to host it last week in our group discussion, and Jake from Nerd Level Rising rose to the occasion. You see what I did there? I still have some wits about me, guys. Not much, but a little bit. Jake rose to the occasion and hosted it over on Nerd Level Rising, so go check out his channel if you haven't seen it yet. And we will be back on BellTube in June discussing part 2 of Ships of Merior, the War Host of Vastmark. All right, what else do I want to talk about? Well, you know what? First, I should say, if you guys like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It lets YouTube show it to more people, and we can get more people involved in what we're doing over here. If you're really liking the channel and you'd like to hang out with me a little bit more often, see some unedited, off-the-cuff videos, as well as some pretty well-produced videos, if I do say so myself, for a very amateur editor, then please hit the subscribe button. Love to have the channel grow, and I'd love to have you here with us. All right, hang on. Spitting something out. I think it was a piece of oatmeal. All right. TMI? Maybe. Who cares? This is live. This is unedited. All right. Let's talk about another book coming out in May. And I just grabbed one, but that's not it because I don't have a digital copy. I don't have a physical copy of it yet. And that is going to be The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I want to say this releases somewhere around the middle of May. That's why I'm starting May with the Janny Wirtz book, so I have ample time to get through that before I jump into a brand new series. I know it's a book 1 of, I think, a planned trilogy by Joe Abercrombie called The Devils. I don't know anything about it at all. I've intentionally stayed away from all the kind of pre-reviews of people that got arcs that have read it and have either graded it with stars or said they loved it, they didn't, whatever. I've stayed away from all of it because I want to go in blind. First Law Universe to me is just completely top tier, and I am crossing my fingers that we're going to get more of the same with The Devils. I suspect we will. I don't think it's going to be like Joe Abercrombie forgot how to write. So that's going to happen then. Here is a new edition. So the theme for May is kind of like do whatever I want. May happens to be my birthday month. We might actually even do a live stream on my birthday on May 7. I don't know. We did one last year. I'm sort of living day to day right now. And on some of those days, I'm living hour to hour mentally. So I might play that one by ear. But I am only really reading books in May that I actually really want to start and read, not slave to the TBR, not slave to, essentially everybody saying you need to read this or you need to read that. I'm taking May really for me to rediscover my love for reading. It's not like it's gone away, but like I said, with this sudden and unexpected passing of my mom, it's really shifted the kinds of books that I feel like I'm going to be in the mood for. And you guys know I'm not really a mood reader. I'm a kind of a strict TBR guy. That's why we do TBRs really only 3 or 4 times a year. And that's why this video is a little bit strange for me to make. But one of those books, one of our amazing patrons, and by the way, thank you to all the patrons. I know that I've not made as many videos lately, and I know that For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is our live interview show, has been on hiatus for about a month. That has drastically reduced not so much the income of the channel, but let's just say the channel's ability to be members of all the subscription services that I am to make these videos. So thank you to the patrons. One of the most amazing ones is Sarah Beth, and she sent me Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. Now, this was going to be on the list at some point, like maybe July-ish, maybe June possibly, but then I noticed Mike over Mike's TBR video for May, and he had this on there, and I was like, you know what? If Mike's going to read it anyway, and I was going to read it in June, maybe I'll push this up a month, and him and I can, kind of chat behind the scenes what we think about Rivers of London as a new urban fantasy selection for both of us. So that is on the agenda. Another book that's on the agenda, this was going to be in June. I'm moving it into May because I think I'm going to want some pure fun, and that is Shadow of Hyperion by JCM Byrne. This is turn 4, in other words, book 4 in JCM Byrne's Hybrid Helix series. So if you're unfamiliar, book 1 is called Wistful Ascending. I've got it back there on the shelf. This is a superhero story based in space, and our main character, Rohan, is interacting with a whole cool cast of characters as he does, but also Wistful is the name of the space station that he's on, and it is entirely sentient. So there's a lot of really cool, both, I'm going to say, superhero stuff and science fiction stuff blended into one, but it's not just all action. He really delivers a nice blend of comedy along with some dramatic moments, along with some kind of uncovering of the past history, both of Rohan and what went on prior to the events of book 1. So I'm really excited about book 4. I've loved every book in the series. Joe knows how to rate. He does know how to rate a good story, but he also really knows how to write a good story. And I think something that just everybody ought to be aware of is that these books do what they set out to do. He is not trying to write The Wheel of Time. He's not trying to write, Malazan Book of the Fallen. He's trying to write a really fun story with big heart, great humor, sufficient action, and something that will keep your mind turning pages, and that's exactly what he's accomplished, at least for me in this series. It's a big recommend series for me, the Hybrid Helix by JCM Byrne, affectionately known as Joe Byrne. Let's talk about a couple of audiobooks, and then I'm going to show you one more physical book before we do one for the road. What we're going to do on audio for May is, assuming I'm done with Dungeon Crawler Carl 7, I will have to be. I think I only have about, 6 or 7 hours left in the book. And like I said, there's a week left in the month. What I'm going to do is continue what I said I was going to do in the last video, and that is going to be listen to the book When Wizards Follow Fools by Andrew Rowe. Now, this is either book 4 or book 5 in his Arcane Ascension series. You'll be seeing a graphic right here because, again, I'm listening to it on audio, don't have a physical copy. But I've long said that this Arcane Ascension series sort of has one foot in fantasy and one foot in LitRPG. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. Feel free to leave it in the comments in a positive way, and we can kind of go back and forth a little bit there. But I absolutely love the narrator, Nick Podell, on this series. If you've ever listened to Nick Podell, you know the guy can do an audiobook. He's done so many, including the Kingkiller Chronicles, which I just absolutely love. And I've probably listened to dozens of books narrated by Nick Podell. It's one of my favorites, so that'll be a treat to be able to get into that. Also, when I finish that, I'm going to be back in LitRPG with He Who Fights with Monsters number 12. Yeah, we're at number 12 already. This is a Shirtaloon book. Yes, that's his writer name, his author name is Shirtaloon. Travis Deverall, I believe, is his real name. But yeah, I'm excited to get back into that. For the most part, He Who Fights with Monsters has been a huge success for me. This is pure LitRPG, right? So this is not one foot in this, one foot in that. No, it's all LitRPG. For the most part, it's been a success for me, and I really do like the voice actor who does all the narrations. There's been a couple of books that I've felt like were kind of letdowns, but when you talk about a 12-book series already with maybe no immediate signs of letting up, maybe there's a proposed length, I'm not sure, but when you talk about a 12-book series, chances are you're going to have a couple of clunkers. I've not let them stop me from continuing the series. So yeah, He Who Fights with Monsters 12 is definitely on the agenda. The last book that I'm thinking about for May, if there's time, I almost just sneezed into the microphone, and I still would not have edited out because I promised you guys no editing this time. This is a book that was purchased for me with a gift card about a year ago by one of our great viewers and our amazing friend of the channel and patron of the channel, Slay, sent me an Amazon gift card last year. And one of the books that I bought with it is called Scattershot. Now, this is nonfiction, and the author who you see on the cover here is a guy by the name of Bernie Taupin. If that name isn't familiar to you, it ought to be if you've ever listened to Elton John, because this man right here has written essentially every lyric to every Elton John song you've ever heard, except for the Lion King album. And I want to say, except for Elton's got an album out called A Single Man, which he put out, I want to say like in the very, very early 80s. Other than those couple of albums, essentially everything you've ever heard out of Elton John has come from the mind of Bernie Taupin, lyrics-wise. First, Bernie writes the lyrics, he sends them off. He used to send them off in the mail to Elton, and Elton would put, put melody to it and create a song. These days, it's all by email, and this is his autobiography called Scattershot. He's a really cool individual, and I want to know kind of what happens on his side of the story as we follow Elton and Bernie's career, from when they met in the late 60s all the way up to today. Super interesting guy, and opposite of Elton. Elton is obviously known for his huge flamboyance and his, volatile moods and the performer of all performers. Elton John's the reason why I started playing piano when I was 7 years old. What I didn't know is how much of a big influence Bernie Taupin would be on me on just all the favorite Elton songs that I have. So if I have time, I'm going to read Scattershot. If it doesn't happen in May, maybe it happens in June, but it's a great book. All right, let's do a one for the road today, and I know this is a little bit of an abbreviated video because, like I said, I don't love doing TBR videos, even though it seems like, just based on view counts, you guys like them. And I want to talk about the fact, for one for the road today, that not every problem has a solution. And what do I mean by that? I know that when we do these one for the road, sometimes it can kind of turn into either like a motivational speech, or it can kind of turn into kind of like a 10-cent, psychiatry appointment, whatever you want to call it. But what I have really learned for myself that I wanted to just share with you guys, and like I said at the beginning of the video, this may or may not apply to you today. Maybe it's never applied to you, but chances are it will apply to you at some point in the future, in that not every problem has a solution. I'm a business guy by nature, and I am a survivalist by nature. Not in the sense that, I'm building a bunker and, dry freezing my food, although it's probably not a terrible idea. But I'm a survivalist in nature in that my mind generally is always on alert, scanning for potential problems that are out there and trying to solve them in real time or before they happen or shortly thereafter they happen. It's just kind of a mentality and a skill set that I've always had. A lot of people will refer to that as a problem solver mentality, right? And we are told it's great to be a problem solver. If you've ever interviewed for a job before, they want you to say, hey, I'm really great at solving problems, right? That is a trait that is highly desired in an employee. It's a trait that's great just in life in general, to be a problem solver. And what I've learned after, like I said, the untimely passing of my mom, that's a problem that has no solution. And as you're going through grief, or at least as I'm going through grief, I'm finding that there's no set like, do this, do that, do this, do this, and it'll all go away. It won't. I have found that for me, grief is kind of, a lot of people have described it to me as it's a roller coaster. Oh, get ready to go on the roller coaster. Here's a fun fact about Brian Bell. Brian Bell hates roller coasters. He sometimes talks about himself in the third person, but he also does not like roller coasters. So to have this type of a loss described as a roller coaster is pretty scary to me. I think what fits better is the weather, right? So some days are really sunny, some days the clouds move in, some days it's raining, some days it's pouring, you know, and in Minneapolis it could be snowing, it could be a blizzard, but you always know that you have a sense that eventually that the weather is going to clear, you're going to get some sun in the sky, you're going to get some blue skies, and things will be okay. And for me, that has been a challenge because I'm a problem solver by nature, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out how do I solve this unimaginable grief that I've got. And it occurred to me last night that there just isn't a solution. There are things that you can do. For me, it's kind of been to be in nature a little bit, to try to calm myself down and to sit with myself in stillness. That can mitigate some of the problem, but it doesn't solve it. And what I just wanted to share with you today is not so much like my personal story because we don't know each other. Some of you guys have been viewers forever, and I just appreciate you a ton. For some of you, this is the very, very first time you've ever seen a video like this or a video on BellTube, and you're going, I don't understand. This guy doesn't do any editing. There's no zooms in on his face. He's not, you know, doing crazy sound effects. He's, you know, is this a channel that I even really want to watch? And for that, I would say watch some of the older videos because, and when I say older, I mean more than a month ago, because you get a little bit more of an actual flavor of what this channel is than what it's been for the last few weeks. Obviously, I didn't want to stop creating content totally, but I know that some of you guys look forward to what I put out each week. And I'll share with you candidly, when I was really going through it, like in week 1 after hearing about my mom, sorry, I wasn't like gonna cry, I was gonna sneeze. Anyway, I had just been watching one of Mike's book reviews videos, and it was just his weekly update, right? It's kind of meaningless, right? You're not gonna look up Mike's book reviews, what he read in some random week of April 3 years from now, right? But it's something that we all as fans of Mike, or at least if you are a fan of Mike's, looks forward to because we want to know what is up on his reading schedule. But for me, watching Mike's just weekly update gave me like a 15-minute sense of normalcy in what otherwise has been the most unnormal, if that's a word. Philip, you can put in the comments if unnormal is a word. I don't think it is, but it gave me a little bit of sense of normalcy. So in sitting in stillness, in doing things that require very little brain power on my end, but just feel kind of normal to me, like watching some of your videos. If you're a booktuber, chances are I watch you a lot, and just sort of going out in nature a little bit and trying to let my mom, wow, I am absolutely editing that out, and trying to let my mind calm down enough and to be still that while I can't solve this problem, at least I can try to get through it in a way that doesn't completely wreck me and in a way that I can maybe look at life in a little bit of a new light. Yes, I did say there would be no editing, but to be honest with you, about 30 seconds ago, things weren't coming out of my mouth even close to camera worthy, so I threw in a little bit of an edit. Don't hold it against me. All right, that's what I've got for you guys this week. I'm excited for the month as much as I can possibly get excited right now. Of course, everybody, I'll tell you what I always do. Stay positive. And of course, here's your fortune.